today I want to help you identify some of the signs as an adult that might clue you in to the fact that you have a wounded inner child. And I will be talking about this from an emotional point of view. Why is it emotional? Because children, when they experience life mostly emotionally, because their rational part of the mind has not kicked in yet. And that is why children need parenting. That's why children need boundaries. Because if they are left to just go with how they experience life, they will rain havoc on their own lives. Because at that point in their lives, until we get to be over 10 years old, we are still experiencing those raw emotions and we go by them. So imagine about the things that I identified in our previous video about the experiences that might create the wounded inner child. We talked about the lack of attention, the neglect. We talked about abandonment, rejection, physical abuse, sexual violence towards the child, and other experiences that this child might face. So what happens when the child goes through all of that? They create walls. They do not grow emotionally, because emotionally they experience these big emotions. They throw temper tantrums, they hide, they run, they are filled with a lot of fear. And so when this continuous experience of strong emotions is not arrested, is not redirected, is not processed, and the child learns better ways of coping with life, then what they do is that they never grow up. That's why we are finding people who, when they are angry, they act like children. They throw temper tantrums. They cannot listen to anybody. They yell and shout. They do not care how other people are experiencing them, because emotionally they got stunted. They got arrested at the time when these abuses were happening. So when you are an adult, this is how you know you may have a wounded inner child. Number one, you cannot regulate your anger. Whenever you have any negative emotions, you do not have tolerance for negative experiences. So we struggle with depression because we feel pushed down, we feel kicked aside, we feel all those emotions. We cannot discriminate between the fact that this person, when they argued with us, when they didn't agree with that, they didn't mean that they don't like us or they don't think that we are people of worth. So what happens is that as an adult now, whenever you experience the negative emotions, they trigger the very emotions you experienced as a child that you never processed. And so what happens is that, remember the vows I talked about, remember the break? And I said when the break happens, we tell ourselves, I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable, I'm not capable or competent, and I am not safe. I have no control over my life. When we are triggered as adults to feel those deep emotions, then because they have never been healed, they have never been processed, we regress to being childlike. And when we go there, when that child, that inner child is triggered, it's not the inner child who is innocent, who is creative, who is filled with awe, who is willing to learn. No, it is the child who was wounded, who was told you are not good enough, who was told there is something wrong with you, who was told you are not perfect, who was told you are not competent, you will never amount to anything. That's the child that comes up. Because the child that lives within you, your inner child, was wounded, and that woundedness was never processed, was never healed. When you are triggered by same stimuli, then that child shows up. There is a regression that happens, and you are not able to deal with the emotion from an adult level. You deal with that emotion from a child level. And so that is where we find people who have explosive anger. We have people who have who hide. They don't like conflict. They don't want to talk with other people about things that they don't agree on. If you disagree with them, it means you don't like them. If you don't, if you have a different opinion, it means you are not listening to them, and they become very aggressive, or they become passive aggressive. So what happens? The behaviors of adults who have a wounded child are either you are going to be running away, which is now what we call silent treatment. We also withhold affection and presence and conversations, and we might use our these behaviors to punish the people who have caused us to feel the pain that we are feeling, that childhood pain that has never been dealt with. So if you are an introvert, if you are of the temperament that don't like conflict, you go into hiding. You become passive aggressive. If you are extroverted, you are a choleric, or you are on that those extroverted personality spaces, if that is the kind of person you are, then you are very argumentative. You throw things. You are aggressive. You are aggressive towards other people. Now, the adult in you should be able to be in the middle, where there is a bit of passiveness and there is a bit of aggression, and when you combine the two is what we call assertiveness, that you can express yourself from an adult level, not from that child space where you feel you are reminded of how people did not take care of you, of how people disrespected you, of how people did not make you feel that you are worth. So what happens as adults? We have that explosive anger or the passive aggression. A lot of times these are the things that are coming to therapy these days, especially within relationships. It's either you are having an aggressive person or you are having a passive aggressive person. The passive aggression is I cut you off, I block you off, I am going to withhold my presence, my communication. I will withhold things from you to punish you. And the aggressive person, I am going to punish you by using harsh words, by hitting you, by, coming after you, attacking you. That is how I'm going to punish you. And so so you have a lot of havoc in relationships, and you can see now how that creates toxic relationships and even verbally abusive and physically abusive relationships. Then we have what we call that inner sense of yourself. So you tell yourself, I'm not good enough. So you struggle with low self-esteem. You struggle with low self-confidence because you have a lot of fears. And these things about yourself, you don't see yourself as a whole person. You feel that you have to prove yourself to people. So you need for people to validate you. And when you don't get that validation, you begin to feel, I'm not a good person, I'm not a person of worth, I didn't do a good job, I will never amount to anything. And then eventually people begin to experience what we might call anxiety or mood disorders, anxiety, depression, bipolar, and other things that now you develop over time of continually feeling these emotions. Remember, when you are an adult and you are having a lot of trouble in your life, it is that inner child who was wounded who shows up. You regress, you emotionally regress to that space where you were stunted. Your emotional growth was stunted. I have a lot of videos. Well, I have several videos that I have spoken about emotional intelligence and relational intelligence. Basically, that's what we are saying. That now as an adult, you need to develop these skills of self-managing the emotions that you feel whenever you are triggered by negative experiences. I hope this helps you to also kind of understand a little bit on how you can tell if you have a wounded child that lives within you. And our next video, we will be talking about how to embrace that child and how to do what we call reparenting. Until I see you next time, it has been a joy. Please reach out to me. There is a phone number on the screen for you to reach to me. Leave a comment, or you can follow me on my social media handles. They are all found on my website, www.gracekariuki.co.ke. God bless you, and I shall see you in the next video.